Salad's MMA sucks. And he's gay.
UFC 313 is happening tomorrow, and one of the more random and interesting fights is Curtis Blaydes versus Rizvan Kuniev. Curtis Blaydes has been a top 5 heavyweight in the division since 2019, and he just lost to the interim champion Tom Aspinall for the interim championship. Yet, in his first fight back, just a couple of months after losing the shot to become the interim champion, he's fighting Rizvan Kuniev, who hasn't even fought in the UFC before. So why is this happening? Who's going to win the fight? Let's talk about it. Curtis Blaydes has been a top 5 heavyweight since 2019, like I said. He's beaten so many good top tier heavyweights over the last decade he's been in the UFC, and he just lost to the interim champion Tom Aspinall. Curtis Blaydes, not to mention, he only loses to the best, including Francis Ngannou twice, Aspinall, Pavlovich, and, he was beating Derek Lewis up pretty bad, and he got hit by a fluke punch. It's the name of the game. Derek Lewis, he lost to Derek. So, after losing his last fight just a couple of months ago to the interim champion, Tom Aspinall, he's now getting this matchup against Rizvan Kuniev, a fat blob who's on a 10-fight win streak since 2015. And he's coming off of a round 1 TKO on the Contender Series. Rizvan Kuniev is most notable for beating Renan Ferreira, the guy who just lost to Francis Ngannou in the PFL, and he beat him by decision. He popped for multiple anabolic steroids after this fight, and it is now a no contest, yet he's been given the opportunity to not only fight on the Contender Series, but now he's getting a jump above the rankings, above everybody else, to fight Curtis Blaydes in the top 5. Kuniev is a very sloppy fighter who wins his fights by, countering low-tier competition, these guys who can't fucking take a punch because they're not good at the top level, or he'll win a fight by laying and smothering on decent fighters. He has no stand-up ability to knock out high-level competition, and the only way to beat Curtis Blaydes is by catching him early on or by getting a lucky shot. Like, the only guys Curtis Blaydes has lost to have been high-level strikers, or fucking powerhouses who, if they touch anything or anybody, they're gonna kill it and destroy it. And that's why Curtis Blaydes has lost to the strikers he has. In Kuniev's most high-level fight against Renan Ferreira, he won that by smudging him against the cage and on the ground. Even with that, Renan Ferreira still managed to flip positions multiple times and provide the defense against his grappling. In Curtis Blaydes' second to last fight, he swiftly beat Jailton Almeida, who's very good, and showcased great takedown defense against Jailton. 99% of heavyweights won't be able to beat Curtis on the ground. That's his bread and butter. I'm sure Curtis was some fucking collegiate wrestler, college wrestler. He's very good at wrestling. And Kuniev is going to get hurt, he's going to get fucked up if he comes in just trying to grapple Curtis. And like I said, Kuniev can't really strike all too well, and he hasn't been this powerhouse who's sleeping people on the feet. So with, all these things mentioned, Curtis is not going to lose this fight. Kuniev's last loss was against Justin Willis over a decade ago, and if you know anything about fucking Big Titty Willis, dude, this guy. What happened to Curtis Willis? I've been wanting to make a video on forgotten UFC fighters. Justin Willis fucking comes in the UFC, beats Mark Hunt in the worst fight ever, and then he gets fucked up by Curtis Blaydes for 3 rounds straight. What happened to this guy? He hasn't fought since. But with that being said, Kuniev lost to fucking Big Titty Willis, just worth mentioning. Now, the next thing that I would like to talk about is how anytime there's some Russian guy who gets a free jump into the heavyweight rankings, they end up losing almost every time. For example, Sergey Pavlovich made his debut against Overeem in 2018. That was supposed to be a layup. You're fighting one of the chinniest heavyweights in existence. And Overeem ended up getting the TKO because he was the crafty vet that night. In recent memory, there was Shamil Gaziev, who got a main event in his second UFC fight after winning a decision to Martin Bidet. And as we all know, Gaziev lost the match due to cardiac arrest. There was Blagoy Ivanov, who I was pretty high up on. I thought he beat Derek Lewis. Blagoy Ivanov beat Derek Lewis. But anyway, he ended up losing his main event debut against JDS in 2018. And I know he's Bulgarian, I know he's not Russian, but he still possesses that lay and pray Dagestani style. Another one of these actual Dagestani guys was Shamil Abdurakhimov, one of the OG blob NPCs in the UFC. He goes 2-1 against unranked heavyweights, and then he gets a main event shot against Derek Lewis. And Lewis pulled off the win, thankfully. And speaking of Shamil Abdurakhimov, I think he's a much better version of Rizvan Kuniev. I know Shamil is a bit of a meme, but if you look at his highlights, if you look at his best fights, he has really good wrestling, offense, defense, maybe not the prettiest striker, but I'm bringing this up because I really think he's a better version of Rizvan Kuniev. I say all of that because Curtis Blaydes ended up fighting Shamil in 2019, and he took care of Shamil super easy. And so if Shamil's the better version of Rizvan Kuniev, Curtis Blaydes is going to make this one look super, super easy. He's fought way better competition than Rizvan. This is going to be a walk in the park. Lastly, there are levels to this game, and Curtis Blaydes is going to show that. I'm not sure why Kuniev is getting such an opportunity, even after the steroid usage and just not being a very fun fighter. Like, is it Dagestani privilege? You know, what is it? All I'm glad for in this matchup is that Blaydes is going to get a free win. Blaydes is going to get back in the win column. He's probably going to get treated pretty nice after this fight for taking on an unranked Russian blob. But yeah, I mean, Curtis is somewhat underrated. He's very underappreciated in my eyes. I don't see enough people talking about him or giving him the credit he deserves. I picked him to beat Tom Aspinall. I doubt he ever will beat Tom Aspinall again, but Curtis, dude, this guy needs a fucking title shot in the future, like for the undisputed belt. He's gone on so many good win streaks, beaten so many good guys. He's very fun to watch in and out of the cage. He's got that wholesome stutter. He's like a teddy bear, dude. He looks like a 7-year-old with a beard. I've heard people say that, and it's fucking true. He's adorable. He's a big fan of anime. He's friendly to the fans. Curtis Blaydes is going to show out this weekend, and Rizvan Kuniev, get the fuck out of here, dude. Nobody cares.